السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue inshallah ta'ala with this blessed subject, the tafsir of the Quran. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the Quran the light of our hearts and the spring of our hearts, and to make us among those who follow the Quran till they enter the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have finished briefly with the tafsir of Surah Al-Alaq, but we didn't mention some of the benefits yet. So inshallah ta'ala we'll go through some of the benefits that we learn from the surah. And when we say benefits, you can call it practical ways of applying the surah, but practical is not necessarily physical actions, because the heart and the actions done by the heart is something that takes the person far ahead than one's physical body will take the person. Like if you would imagine yourself being steadfast upon the deen of Allah, as if you are on a path and you need to get ahead and to keep on going further and further, the deeds done by the heart takes the person further ahead of everyone. And the evidence of that is when people stand in the salah. If you guys prayed Maghrib, for example, you stand next to each other and people are praying the same prayer. Physically, they're doing the same thing. But some people, they get 100% of the rewards of the salah, and some people get 10%, 50%, 60%. All of that based on what? Based on what's in the hearts, based on the khushu', based on one's intentions, and so on. So the rewards with actions, even the physical actions, varies according to how much deeds in the heart a person is upon. Physically, you cannot do more than one action at the same time. You can either be in ruku' or sujood or standing, for example. But when it comes to the deeds of the heart, you can have multiple actions done by your heart at the same time. Being sincere and being patient and being grateful and being all kinds of things. So therefore, when we talk about benefits of the ayat of the Quran, the most important benefits are the benefits done by one's heart. And there's always a common benefit when we look into the verses of the Quran, that it makes the human beings humbled, makes a person have that sense of al-khudu', to be in that state of humbleness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the essence of being abd. And the opposite of that is the worst disease can happen to anyone, which is the disease that was in Iblis, kibr, arrogance. So when a person is not reading Quran, that means he has arrogance in his heart. And the more that you read Quran, the more that arrogance will be removed from the heart. Because the smallest amount of arrogance in the heart would take the person to the hellfire, even if it's something very small. As the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that he said that من كان في قلبه مثقال حبة من كبر كبه الله على وجهه في نار جهنم. Whoever has in his heart the weight of a mustard seed of arrogance, kibr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make him fall on his face in the hellfire. This is how much small that arrogance is in the heart. This is what's going to happen to the person. So imagine when someone's heart is full of kibr, wal-'iyadhu billah. So how to eliminate this, even the smallest amount of it? One of which is to humble oneself when a person reads the Quran. You would find the Quran talks about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we talk about benefits, we have 19 verses in Surah Al-Alaq. Starts with Iqra. Read, and the significance of reading the book of Allah, and reading what is benefiting. And you have to be careful what you're reading. Either you're reading something benefiting, or you're reading things of the shayateen and the devils, those who corrupt the hearts. And for a person to be guided with reading, a person needs the guidance from Allah. How many people they read, but they're misguided? So that means the person needs to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sincerely seeking guidance from Allah. That's why he says, Iqra bismi rabbik. Did not just say Iqra, read and that's it, but by the name of your Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, whatever we read anything, it has to be based on this. Is it going to be benefiting? Or it's something that is corrupts our hearts or of no benefit. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to read and the importance of reading and so on. And also it shows that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Khaliq, and one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Khalq. He's the creator of all things. One of the great benefits that the human being, as we said, to humble oneself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how we were created, and He created us in such a way, and it's meant to be this way for people to take it easy on themselves, to be humbled, not to be arrogant. Right? خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. He created mankind from alaq, something that hangs in the uterus of the mother, and so on. And also this attachment, that the human beings are always attached. Human beings are always attached. You have to be attached to something, either you desire or to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we are makhluk. And the makhluk, creation, is by default in need of the khaliq. Right? In need of the creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that should be applied in our life, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Akram, the most generous subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means you need to ask Him the most generous. And that's what something that great benefit is, to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is Al-Akram subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with no limits. And also to apply this in one's life, to be among those who are generous with one's wealth, with one's knowledge, with whatever ability and means that a person has. The significance of Al-Qalam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned Al-Qalam. The significance of seeking knowledge and writing the knowledge, right? It's an important thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that taught human beings to write. So therefore, either you write in what's benefiting, or you write in things that can deviate others or become source of forgetfulness. So how do we use our pens? What do we write? What are the things that we write? And how benefiting are these things that we write? And as we said, you seek rewards from Allah when you write what is benefiting. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that taught the human beings. Human beings, they do not earn that from themselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the mean to learn. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. What the human being didn't know, all of that are means of humbleness to the heart. The knowledge is from Allah. The knowledge that a person needs to learn is the knowledge from Allah, and the ability for him to learn and to benefit from it, that's from Allah. And that shows that one of the clear principles, that human beings, they are ignorant till proven otherwise. Not that human beings, they by default know everything. Sometimes, people act like this as if they know everything. If you did not learn the deen of Islam in the proper way, according to the ways of the people of knowledge, that means you have no knowledge of the religion. So don't talk about the religion of Allah and things like this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that teaches the human being. One of the great benefits of the surah, that even though the human beings are called to humble themselves, but the reality of the human beings that they transgress. So to stay away from transgressing, staying away from following one's desires. Because كَلَّا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَيَطْغَى. What does it mean? It means that if you leave yourself to your own self, you will be ruined. Because you are insan and I am insan. We're all human beings. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying about us as human beings, we tend to transgress. This is how we are created. Unless you do something about it so that you don't transgress. It's like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the human beings. You cannot live your life unless you have to work hard for something. If human beings did not work to establish their stay on the face of earth, their life will be a miserable one. You look around you, how much effort and how much work has been done for just the things that you see with your own eyes that human beings have made and manufactured and so on. So human beings, they know exactly what it means to work on themselves. Human beings, yourself, myself, everyone, we're not the same the way that we were born, not knowing anything. Every day we learn something. Every day we get to be able to do something, and so on. So the same thing with الطغيان. If human beings leave themselves without anything, there will be transgressors. They all have, human beings, they have envy, they have evil in them, they have so much injustices and all kinds of things. This is human beings as human beings, unless you do something about it. Not that the human beings are pure and nice and everything, no. So this is one of the great benefits, that we get to know oneself. And without knowing oneself, how can the person be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And why does the human being transgress? Is when a person keeps on looking at himself. So we need to quit looking at ourselves, not physically, I'm saying, but when you look at yourself, that means you like yourself. You look in the sense that you like your actions, you like your deeds, right? But instead, look that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided you. And the more that you depend on yourself, the more that you will fail. But when you depend and rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will be successful. And this is what the deen says. And this is what, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala love you, He will make your life like this. The more that you depend upon Allah, the more that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you and guide you. And the more that you look at yourself and rely upon yourself, you will be not being successful. One of the great benefits, that everybody shall return to Allah. And that by necessity, then we have to act according to this. Inna ila rabbika ruj'a. Ruj'a, as we said in the noun tense, that it's an inevitable one, something that forever everybody shall return to Allah, and we do not know when. One of the worst sins are mentioned in the verses, those who, not just that they don't pray and they don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they oppose others and they stop others from worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يَنْهَى, and so on. Right? And how the opposite of that is the taqwa of Allah, the fear of Allah, to be in the state of worship of Allah. Either you become from this group or the other group. So become among those who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be patient. The Prophet ﷺ was patient. And they threw all kinds of things on the Prophet ﷺ when he would pray. They were trying to prevent him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected him. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-seer. And the warning and the punishment that is waiting for those who oppose the deen of Allah and oppose the believers and are against them and so on, don't worry, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most just. No haqq, no right whatsoever will be wasted. The smallest right that a person has been taken away from him, it's not going to be wasted. The real miserable or the real misery is for those who transgress. The real misery is for those who oppress. The real misery for those who treat others with injustice, because it never wasted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most just. And the real successful ones are the believers, those who are away from injustice, those who are away from evil. Even if they look in this life as being physically weak or oppressed at a certain time, and this is not the norm, by the way, for the believers, but if they are living in some exceptional situation, it's not a bad thing for them. Why? Because inna ila rabbika ruj'a. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everybody shall return. And he, subhanAllah, the Quran is being recited now, that indeed the death that you're fleeing away from, it's going to meet you. So what can you do? What as human beings we can do? We cannot flee from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody can flee from the reality of this life, that we have to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no way out of it. So either a person be forgetful and ignorant and deceiving himself, or to face this reality by preparing oneself, and for the moment of death to become the most joyful moment in one's life. And how to do that is by seeking that strength from the Book of Allah. And how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordering the Prophet ﷺ to be firm against those who prevent him from making salah. كَلَّا لَا تُطِعْهُمْ. Do not obey him. Do not obey the disbelievers. Do not obey the ways of those who are neglectful and forgetful about the purpose of their life. Do not obey them. وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, do not obey those who is forgetful from the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on. And make sujood and draw yourself nearer to Allah. Don't let people take you away from Allah. See how after mentioning what they did to the Prophet ﷺ and threatening the Prophet ﷺ, we face this in our life. Either a person would then compromise and obey them when they threaten you, when they make you, fear them and so on. Remember, كَلَّا لَا تُطِعْهُ وَاسْجُدْ وَاقْتَرِب. Do not obey them and make sujood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and draw yourself closer to Allah. The more they call you to be away from Allah, the more that you are drawing yourself closer to Allah. And know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be supporting you, will aid you, will guide you. Will guide you to do what? To be steadfast on the deen of Allah. Will guide you to be obedient to Him. Will guide you to make sujood to Him and pray. Will guide you to be close to Him. Till the physical, support comes. And that's, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is by the will of Allah. But what really matters for the believers is to live and die in the state of al-iman as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them to be. So these are, great benefits that when we look at it, and this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, revealed to the Prophet ﷺ means of steadfastness. And this was revealed in Mecca when the Prophet ﷺ was facing all kinds of difficulties. And you find then, when people look and rely upon themselves or look only at the physical means, and they would seek excuses even with some false evidences or not understanding the evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah, thinking that it's okay to compromise, it's okay to change, it's okay to do this and to do that. For the sake of what? If it's for the sake of the deen, the sake of the deen is to hold fast to the deen, not to compromise your deen. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the reality of it, inshallah. Stop here, inshallah ta'ala. If you have any questions, because of, inshallah, we'll stop at 7:30 exactly, inshallah, if Allah gives us ability, inshallah.